Hey, this is a Hakawati production. Hi friends, welcome to the men's room. We get a lot of different types of people in here, but today we have a guest who's really well connected, and not just because he's one of the main decision makers at a large telecommunications company. He's also running a program that's helping startups grow, thrive, and connect. Please welcome the Chief Commercial Officer of Touch, Nadim Khater. Welcome, Mr. Khater.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so Touch in Lebanon is part of Zain, one of the top 5 telecom providers in the Middle East. Etisalat is number 1 with $12.1 billion US dollars in 2018, 140 million subscribers in 8 countries. Zain, in comparison, just to put it in context, is the 4th largest in the top 5. They had revenues in 2018, or you, well, not you personally, I'm assuming, of $3.4 billion, and you have 50 million subscribers. That's across 8 countries.
Exactly. Not
in Lebanon, obviously. So explain what it is exactly that Touch does, and why does Zain need a local carrier with a different name?
Okay, Touch is a peculiar operation in the telecom world, and a special operation for Zain. The way telecom operates in Lebanon, that it is still public owned and there are not full licenses to operate privately like elsewhere in the world. And that's why we have a management contract with the Republic of Lebanon to run the telecom network that the government owns on their behalf in exchange for a management fee.
Yes, on that note, actually, there was a deal in 2004, right?
Exactly,
for the government.
That's the one where we were awarded the management of this network for the government of Lebanon. But we definitely leverage all the economies of scale and the economies of skill and the know-how of Zain to bring telecommunication products and services to Lebanon. Mm-hmm. However, given that it's still public owned, there are a lot of guidelines and restrictions. For example, all of the tariffs have to be approved by the government of ministers and the sort.
What can you tell me about MIC2, the mobile network that Touch took over in 2004?
Yeah, MIC2 stands for Mobile Interim Company 2. So it's actually the company name of the government-owned asset. And Touch is the brand. So this network today has 2.5 million customers, and we have the market share of 54%. We're very proud as MIC2 for delivering world-class telecommunication products and services for the Lebanese, and we strive, given all the regulatory and market conditions and constraints, to be able to do our best job here.
So Zain has 6 subsidiaries, right? Mm-hmm. And Touch is the only one that's not owned by Zain. Instead, it's basically owned by the Lebanese state.
Exactly.
Why is that?
It's a Lebanese decision. So, like any government-owned asset, it's up to the government to decide: are we going to keep it? Are we going to sell it? Are we going to partially outsource it? Private-public partnership. There are a lot of models around the world, but usually it's the decision makers and the legislation and the owners as government.
So let's talk about the Touch Innovative Program that Touch launched in January 2018 in partnership with ArabNet, and it's a program where you select high potential entrepreneurs and offer them mentorship and support to further their startups. Tell me about it.
Okay, this thing is very dear to my heart, and it's something we really are enthusiastic and we like doing. We think that telcos need to be close to the digital ecosystem. They need to be close to innovation, because all we have been doing and mostly doing is selling SMS minutes and megabytes. But we would like to venture into other stuff, like selling digital services, music, content, and even more advanced digital services like Uber or what have you. So in order to get exposure and relevance, we started. We're probably the only company that has a corporate accelerator, which is Touch Innovation Program. So what we do is that we onboard 6 startups every 6 months. And we go through a process with these startups where we try to define a business model, see how we can do partnerships. The background for this is that we get approached by a lot of people and a lot of companies and a lot of stakeholders saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You have a lot of customers, how we can tap into location, messaging, direct carrier billing. So we tell them, you know what, we don't know the answer. Let's put you in a program. Let's talk. Let's do workshops to converge on an opportunity. And what I really like about the program as well is that we assign internal mentors. Okay, so you have actual touch employees that are working with the entrepreneurs. Given that we're a publicly owned incumbent, once you get a lot of your teams working with entrepreneurs, you get this exchange that's very, very healthy for both. Because entrepreneurs sometimes are green and they're new and they don't know how to log on accounts receivables. And you also have the employees that have been doing more of the routine work. They get exposure to more innovation and entrepreneurship.
Definitely.
And that has been really successful.
So can you give me an example of one or two startups that you've worked
since
with?
we're talking about podcasts, there's a startup called Follow that they want to do podcast, aggregate podcasts on an app, and we're working with them, for example, to put a data package, for example, a certain amount of megabytes that are whitelisted. You can use them for free on this one. Another one is an e-commerce platform that we're working with. Another really interesting one is two ladies that are working on the Internet of Things. They have this, it's an agri-tech solution where they can identify what kind of pest is on the tree. And we're giving them really, it's called narrowband IoT, which is a technology in order to communicate quickly between the sensors and their servers. So they can identify using artificial intelligence what kind of pest this is, and they can tell the farmer what pesticide to use. So right now, farmers in Lebanon, they blanket the spray the whole fields.
Yeah.
So with this one, you know that you need to use this pesticide on this tree.
What's it called again?
The company is called IO3.
Okay. So how would Touch then continue to work with a company like that? I mean, it's a super interesting project.
The technology, what we did a proof of concept, a hotspot for them. So this narrowband IoT technology that we're using for them to communicate, we did it for a small region where they're testing. Okay, if this grows and we want to do it all over the country, we'll probably deploy it all over Lebanon. And this is one use case, which is the pests and what have you. But it can be used for a lot of sensors.
Okay. Are there any sectors you think have a lot of potential right now other than pests and...
Content is always nice. Music, video, this is definitely on the upside. I also like fintech. There's a lot of convergence between telecoms and payments and transfers and investing and small loans, peer-to-peer loans. These things tend to be on the rise.
So when you're talking about fintech, financial technology, I guess it's short for, it's mainly focused on mobile payments. Like what you just described.
And it's financial inclusion. So a lot of people look at something to be done between finance and telco because not everybody's banked. So not everybody has a bank account, not everybody has a credit card, but everybody has a phone. So they tend to look at ways where you can do a mobile wallet, store some money on your phone, and then use it for payments. And we have a lot of success stories in this space in telecoms. And with Zain, we have Zain Cash in Iraq that is doing very well.
Is that just in Iraq?
It's also in Jordan and other countries as well. It worked. It solved the problem for refugees because not a lot. You need to transfer money for NGOs needs to work with them, and sometimes you need to. Yeah, definitely. And they don't have bank accounts.
So would it be so? Why don't you have Zain Cash here in Lebanon?
We're working on it. However, in Lebanon, usually regulations and regulatory protection tends to be an obstacle to innovation. So the banks are very protected.
Yeah,
today.
Because that's one major complaint that you hear a lot is, I mean, people all over the world have access to services like PayPal, which you can't use in certain countries, including Lebanon. When do you think we can expect to see those kinds of services in Lebanon? And why is it taking so long?
This is a very interesting question, and I think more effort needs to happen with the central bank and with the regulatory to liberalize a bit the financial services. Now it's very bank-centric. The banks are overprotected in Lebanon, I think. For example, your PayPal example, this is the simplest fintech. Okay, the simplest fintech
Yeah,
is
it's been
having
around
a
forever.
wallet
Yeah.
to have money. Now in Lebanon, to do that, you need a full banking license.
Okay.
To be able to store money on a virtual wallet, on a phone, or on a computer, you need a full banking license. And nobody is ready to get that if they can to do this. So it's very hard to disrupt banking.
But it seems like a small fix. Like it seems like if they really wanted to change it, they could look to other models and kind of replicate it, and isolate that issue without changing the whole banking system.
I agree with you, but in this country, there's a lot of protection, I would say, and there it depends on the stakeholders in the banks and the whole ecosystem. But we're seeing, and I think the BDL is looking for a fintech win, and we're starting to see signs in the right direction of deregulation.
What are some of the things that you think will help? We talked a little bit before about how Zain is in the top 5, but it's still way behind Etisalat, for example. What are some of the things that mobile carriers do to compete with each other?
I would say sticking to SMS minutes and megabytes is not on the right side of history. So the more you bring in digital, be it content or even some fintech services, the more you are relevant. And what we've learned that the more you are relevant to your addressable market, the more you can acquire and retain. So people want to join this brand. I think if we can move to becoming the Uber of telecoms, the Netflix of telecoms, the more we'll be able to grow. We need to be part of the millennials economy. For example, millennials now, they want to watch their Netflix, they want to ride their Uber, they want to use Totter's Grubhub to order food. If we can tap into this kind of economy, I think it'll do us very well in terms of
Do you have any
relevance.
specific ideas?
Yes, I do actually. For example, a quick thing we can do in telecom now, you need to call the call center, you need to go to the shop. We can deliver lines to the home, just like food delivery.
What do you mean?
For example, you download an app and you say, I need a new GSM number. And we have a last mile delivery guy come to your house with a SIM card.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That could be interesting.
Definitely. Do you have any thoughts on, there seems to be like a bit of a shift in the mobile phone industry. Apple has been really dominating the game, but then there's all these other phones, of course, Huawei, which has been very controversial. Do you have any thoughts on those things?
Unfortunately, in Lebanon, we're not doing that. We're not doing the handset business because if we have to do it, we have to subsidize like other operators. They sell it for cheap.
Yeah.
It's usually a 2-year lock-up period.
Yeah, why don't you do
plan.
that here or in Lebanon?
This started from competition, right? So telcos wanted to compete with each other, and they said, hey, listen, customer, come take an iPhone. It's for cheaper and stay with me for 2 years where you can pay and I can make money. For us to do subsidies in Lebanon, we're not in real competition with MIC1. So we're not doing these things because subsidizing handsets is actually not good for the cash flow of telcos. So if you look at AT&T and Verizon, whenever there's a new iPhone release, their stock goes down because they know they're going to pay a lot of upfront money to give discounts on phones to customers. So we're not doing that. Having said that, we're not really in the handset business in Lebanon. We're more providing telecommunication products and services in terms of plans and bundles. But yeah, the phone war seems to be very, very dynamic. And even Samsung, which was doing very well, now we're seeing other Android operating system phones that are gaining a lot of market share from Samsung. Apple seems to be stable on the high-end segment. I'll be very curious if at one point Facebook wants to launch a phone like there was a rumor. There was a rumor at one point.
Well, like recently?
Not very recently, no.
Yeah, well, I think it would be a hard sell.
But I think, no, the reason I bring this up
is
because I anticipate one more layer of disruption on the phones. Phones have been a bit stable for some time. There has to be a next big thing soon, I think. What it is, I don't know. We have to wait for Elon Musk, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it might just be a chip, an implanted chip
There you go.
in your arm. I mean, at some point that'll probably happen, right? Do you think that will happen?
I'm not gonna say we're there, but the eSIM is almost something similar. Now you don't have to buy a SIM card anymore to put it in the phone. It's already in there. You just provision the network that needs to work.
So actually, just to go back to what we were talking a little bit before, you also have a GPS in every every phone. Cannot the carrier see don't they have like a kind of network map where they can see where all their users are?
Of course they do.
Oh, okay.
And even without GPS, we do it on something called cell ID. So for every tower every site, we know who's connected in real time. So we were doing location even before GPS came into play.
And how many towers are there for touch in Lebanon? Just to get
almost 1,500.
1,500. Mm-hmm. And let me ask you this question also. A lot of people now are using other services besides their voice data. They're using apps, like WhatsApp and stuff to make phone calls. Does this affect the cash flow of a carrier like you?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Has it felt it a lot?
We call these applications OTT, over the top. So they're a layer that they sit on the network, but we actually don't make money from them. It's a little bit of revenue from data usage. However, they really eat into our core, which is voice revenue and voice erosion. We've been losing a lot of money on voice because of everybody's doing VoIP, voice over IP calls over WhatsApp. At one point during last year, the number of minutes over VoIP almost exceeded the classic minutes. A lot of people are using it. And it's very convenient, because you're chatting with everybody's using WhatsApp. So you're talking to someone on WhatsApp, and instead of going out of WhatsApp and then pressing another button,
you just click the little icon.
You just click and you make your call, and even voice notes. Let alone, people are not very happy talking anyway. A lot of people are just avoiding voice in general. If you see the younger generation, they stick probably to emoticons only, not even text.
They're basically going back to being like cave people without language. I'm just kidding. In a way.
Less effort has always been convenient.
Yeah, so. I mean, but that's bound to affect like communication skills and language probably. But that's another...
We're always worried about the next generation, but they tend to figure it out
and
somehow.
outdo us also.
Right?
Yeah. So, but how do you counter that, the loss of
That's
voice?
why we're doing all these innovation programs. We're looking for the next big thing. So this SMS, megabytes, and minutes are no longer growing as much as we would like them to grow. Let alone what's happening today, that Google and even SpaceX, Elon Musk, and even Facebook, they're looking at providing, and Google Fiber, they're trying to provide connectivity. So even the incumbent telcos like us, Vodafone, AT&T, they're very vulnerable to disruption, where you will get your megabytes
through satellites.
Through satellite, exactly. These satellites, in 2020, the plan is to cover the whole Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, so our role will be really diminished. So we have to figure out what the next big thing is. But believe me, the industry is all at the crossroads, and we don't know what it is.
So to get back just a little bit to fintech, do you have any thoughts on, the different technologies like blockchain, cryptocurrency? People are kind of confused by what that all means. We talked about, obviously not being able to use like traditional having money invested, on a computer or on a phone. But what about those kinds of technologies? Is that an option?
I want to be careful with this one because it's a bit controversial, and it is still uncharted waters.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, very nice. But then again, if it's a currency, it cannot be that volatile, right? So when you want to pay with something, you want to know how much you're paying, the conversion rate. Okay, you pay in pounds.
Yeah.
It's $1.26. It's fine. But Bitcoin, every day, it's so volatile, you don't know if you want to keep it, sell it, exchange it.
It's a little stressful.
Exactly. So I think we need more time to figure this out. Blockchain is just another mechanism or process to make sure that things are secure and they're registered in a lot of places, and it makes things fast and secure, which is nice. It's just a protocol, a mechanism, which is nice and good, healthy. But otherwise, I think we need more time to see more use cases and leverage this technology better.
All right. So where would you like to see touch and mobile carriers in general, or where do you think they'll be 10 years from now? What do you envision?
Actually, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I think the post office did not invent the email. And right now we're in post office mode. So unless there is some radical change or we are able to really crack something, I think it's going to be very tough for us to. And I'm very pragmatic, so I say we need to be very careful as telcos about the future and how to go about it. The threats outweigh the opportunities at this point in time. We have to work on the next big thing and see how we can remain relevant, because at the end of the day you can only monetize your relevance and how much people want and need your services. The solution is transforming into a digital operator. A digital operator operates in a radical new way. It operates like Netflix, like the Ubers of the world, and it's still not issue the bill and wait for the payment. It has to be more seamless, less effort, more customer experience. But this transformation is not easy. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take effort, and maybe we need to do some radical changes to get there.
Well, Zain was actually the first mobile service in the Middle East, right? In 1983?
Yes, in Kuwait.
So speaking about the post office, I mean, imagine, what did the phones look like back then? Did they have phones? Was it like...
It was pagers, actually.
Oh, really?
What
That's
was
what
launched
they were
back
doing?
in the 80s was pagers. But it's still mobile telecommunications.
Yeah. Pagers. Those were cool, right?
For doctors.
So who knows? Let's see if who will be... kind of leading the next revolution in this region, in the world, with telco. So thank you so much for coming in and
thank you for having
thoughts.
me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Men's Room. You can find us on hakawati.com and on themensroom.show. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment. Goodbye.